What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Back in my original segment, Boxing Ego First Look, a tale of the tape, where I give you a sneak peek, a preview of the fight before the fight. Now, March 18th, Madison Square Garden, New York, it goes down. And that's GENNADY Triple G heading on, guys, versus the Miracle Man, Danny Jacobs, live on HBO pay-per-view. Now, this is a middleweight supremacy fight. This is the number 1 and number 2 guy at the middleweight division. They are both powerhouses. They both clearly have power, and they have a version of the same belt. Golovkin is the super WBA champion, and Danny Jacobs is the regular WBA champion. So it'll also be a consolidation, and whoever wins this fight will have all of the belts except for Billy Joe Saunders' WBO belt, and they'll really be the kingpin of the division. But in most people's eyes, this is the number 1 and number 2 guy. Again, HBO pay-per-view March 18th. And Danny Jacobs, he battled cancer, and he overcame that, and he resurrected his career and became a champion again. So this is clearly the biggest fight of his career. And Golovkin, a lot of people think he's very good. They just want to see how good he is, and most people are considering Danny Jacobs the most formidable opponent. You got to look at it. Even Golovkin himself said at the time, before we knew the Jacobs fight was done, that Kell Brook, his last opponent, a welterweight, was the biggest test for him. Now he's saying Jacobs is the biggest test for him. So, I mean, you got to really analyze that. That means something. If you're a middleweight and you're the middleweight monster, the boogeyman of the division, if you will, and at the time last year, you're saying the biggest test of your whole career is a guy 2 divisions underneath you that has skill, which is Kell Brook. Kell Brook did, in a lot of people's eyes, expose some vulnerabilities. And Golovkin, him being the bigger man and being strong, he was able to overcome those obstacles and get Kell Brook out of their corner stoppage. So it's a really important fight, especially coming off of the heels of that. Danny Jacobs, he's been stopped before, so a lot of people have this in the back of their mind, like, what's his chin really like? He got stopped by Dmitry Perov before he battled cancer. So some people are like, there's no way he could withstand what Golovkin brings, because a lot of people think Golovkin is superior to Perov. So overall, there's just a lot of variables. I like the matchup a lot. I think you can make an argument for both fighters. Golovkin should be the favorite. He's the guy who has more knockouts in a row. He's the guy who has more belts. And he's the guy being built up. And they put a lot of money behind Golovkin. So for various reasons, he should be the favorite. However, in my opinion, Danny Jacobs is an absolute live dog. For once, we're getting to see not only somebody with power, but somebody with power, an amateur pedigree, who's taller than Golovkin and can box. It's not just about brawling, because Golovkin, his strengths are very apparent. He cuts off the ring very good, right? That's definitely one of his strengths. He's a master at imposing his style on you, making you fight the type of fight that he wants you to fight. He has a decorated amateur background. He, according to everything his team has said, he's never been hurt, he's never been dropped, he's never been knocked out in his professional career, and he has over 350 fights, I want to say, as an amateur, let alone his pro fights. So, I mean, those are pretty impressive stats if they're all 100% true. And Jacobs looks to create the ripple in the pond and upset those odds. I mean, he's done it before, but it wasn't against a fighter. It was against something more life-threatening, which was his battle with cancer. They said he can never possibly walk again, let alone fight again. So, all in all, this is going to be a really good fight. You got Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez on the undercard, and I'm looking forward to it. I just think overall it's going to be a good fight, and it's a who's who of the division. It's 2017 is looking very strong for these types of matchups. We just got to see Garcia versus Thurman, Badu Jack versus James DeGale. Tank Davis became a champion. So it's a lot of people stepping up in meaningful fights. We got Kell Brook versus Errol Spence Jr. and also Golovkin versus Jacobs. These are the who's who of the divisions. Joshua Klitschko, another good fight. These are fights that the odds shouldn't be as lopsided as maybe past opponents and things like that. And more importantly, these are the fights that will help shape each of these respective divisions so we can see who is the best. And I love how 2017 is providing that. And again, Golovkin has a lot of momentum. He's the guy that's feared. Another reason why I'm anxious to see this fight. Not just this fight, but also the May 6th fight between Canelo Alvarez and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is because the fight that a lot of fans have wanted to see in the back of their mind is Gennady Golovkin going up against the A side, Canelo Alvarez. So depending on Golovkin's performance and Canelo's performance, that could make that fight massive. But there could also be spoilers, you know what I mean? Golovkin and Canelo, neither one of them is invincible, you know what I mean? And one of them has been beaten before, and that's Canelo Alvarez. So to me, it's going to be all eyes on those particular fights, because the fight in the back of a lot of fans' mind is Canelo facing Triple G. So if Triple G gets past the biggest test of his career thus far, then the big money fight with Canelo should be the next order of business. Same thing with Canelo. He has a big fight, not as meaningful because it's at its own weight division. It's a man-made weight, but there are some intangibles and some interesting things about the fight, namely the weight and how big Chavez Jr. is. So if he can get past that style and look good in that fight, then I think the Canelo versus Golovkin rumored fight or potential fight just grows larger, and everyone's going to tune in to that if they both look good in their next fights. But the people in front of them, those are probably some of the stiffest tests that they've had as of lately, you know what I mean, the last year or so. So I'm looking forward to this match. Now let's take a look at the tail of the tape. Now between the two fighters, there's only one loss, and that one loss is Danny Jacobs. He has a record of 32-1. Gennady Golovkin has a perfect record of 36-0. He's currently unbeaten. Age, Golovkin is the older fighter. He is age 34. Danny Jacobs a little bit younger, age 30. This is an interesting metric because they both have power, and Golovkin is listed at 5 foot 10.5 inches to Daniel the Miracle Man Jacobs 6 foot. So Jacobs is the taller fighter. So Golovkin cuts off the ring extremely well, and if Jacobs is able to fight tall, this is going to be very interesting to me to see if he can keep Golovkin at bay with his power and a jab and using his height. Now this is a middleweight fight, which is campaigning at the full 160-pound division. Again, for both WBA titles, the regular and super, they will be consolidated, and this will be the true WBA champion and the #1 middleweight in the world at 160 pounds. The reach, another important category. Golovkin has a reach listed at 70 inches to Danny Jacobs, the taller fighter's 73-inch reach. So Jacobs has a 3-inch reach advantage, and again, Golovkin is extremely good at imposing his will, his strength, and his style on people. So will that negate Jacobs' height, or will Jacobs, with his amateur pedigree, have enough to keep Golovkin deterred and keep him at bay, right? And bring the fight to him. So it's going to be interesting. Another thing is, to me, to beat Golovkin, you have to kind of get his respect. You got to get it early. Otherwise, he's going to do what he's done in the last 23, 24 fights, right? And impose his will, his strength, and then break you down. So it's going to be real interesting. I want to see what the game plan is for Jacobs, who is the underdog. Is he going to bring the fight directly to Golovkin? Is he going to try to work behind the jab? Because Golovkin, if you evade him, that's the style he seems to favor. Like the Willie Monroes, guys that get on their bike and try to outbox him, because he's extremely effective at cutting off the ring. The weakness that I've seen is the inside fighting. If he's not a mid to outrange, then he's not as effective. I don't think he's as much of an inside fighter. He has decently long arms for the division, and he uses that, and he wants to get those punches off, and he almost throws them from weird angles, and he maintains his power. So all in all, shout out to K2 Promotions, shout out to Al Heyman for making this fight, and HBO. It's a good fight. It is HBO pay-per-view, so you will have to pay or go see it live at Madison Square Garden. If you already got a ticket, it's probably sold out. And Jacobs, again, is the hometown fighter, but Golovkin is very popular no matter where he goes. So I'm looking forward to a great middleweight showdown, and the winner, the sky's the limit. There's also big paydays in store for whoever wins this fight. Golovkin versus Jacobs, March 18th. Let me know how this fight ends, and who do you see winning? Do you see an upset, or will Golovkin prove that he's the #1 middleweight in the world? Drop that in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.